and they win the NFC South.
What's good, everybody? Let's talk some Tampa sports. Oh boy. Pretty wild couple days. And I made a post yesterday on my channel saying this was probably one of the most wild just couple days of roster cuts that we've seen in recent memory. So let's get into this. I paid attention to everything on Sunday, paid attention to everything on Monday. Whatever happened today, I tried my best to stay off my phone so that we can get a little bit of like a honest in the moment reaction to this final 53-man roster. So let's get into this because we got stuff to talk about. Boom. All right. Starting off with the quarterbacks. The Trask crew, I'm sorry. The time has come. Obviously, Baker's your starter. Teddy Bridgewater will be the Bucs' backup quarterback. And moving on from Kyle Trask. After being drafted in 2021 in the second round, he's done what he needs to do as a backup quarterback. But looks like the Bucs are more comfortable with the veteran in Teddy Bridgewater, a guy who's seen tons of game time. If Baker Mayfield, God forbid, were to go down, they have more trust in a guy like Teddy Bridgewater who has seen much more than what Kyle Trask has in terms of playing time, and that's who they're going forward with. I'm not biased in either way. Yes, I'm from Tampa, but I am not affiliated with the Gators or Florida State or Miami, any of those big three schools that are rivals with each other, so it really does not affect me in that type of way at all. And this honestly is a great time to sorry about this. College football is here. And like I said, I'm not a Gators fan. I'm not a Seminoles fan. I'm not a Hurricanes fan. But I did graduate from the University of South Florida, the fine institution of USF here in Tampa. And I will be at the game. It's here. Thursday, 5:30 against Boise State. And I will be repping my Horns Up tee from Ingrained Apparel. Like I've told you guys, if you support them, it supports me and allows me to do more with this channel. So they have simple things like this, where it's just horns up, you get the point. They got things like that back there where it says Tampa Bay made, and they got some crazy t-shirts with some wild graphics, super creative. So please check them out if you want the best Tampa-based streetwear. Thank you. See how I did that? See how I did that? I'm getting there. New to this, running backs. We do have a live reaction here because I was not aware. The Bucs are going into the season with 4 running backs on the 53-man roster. Obviously, you got your 3 of Bucky, Rashad, Sean Tucker, but Josh Williams is in there as well. So the Bucs are going in. Last year, they went 3 running backs pretty much the whole season. This year, they're going 4, putting Josh Williams on that 53-man roster. I liked what we saw from him. He runs hard, powerful, aggressive, and there was nothing not to like there when it comes to Josh Williams. So I see the reason he made the roster. I also understand the fact that the Bucs probably did not want to allow another team to pick him up. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Rachaad White's on the last year of his contract. I'm sure they want Josh Williams on the team next year when Rachaad White most likely does go to a different team. Being cut, though, is Owen Wright, who I did like what he brought to the team, and then Jace McClellan, who was kind of a late add, so that's pretty much expected. So there we go. 4 running backs on the roster to start the year. Next up is wide receivers, which is obviously a very big one with, injuries, how deep this room is. Let's see who made it. And it looks like they are going into the year with 7 wide receivers on the roster. Mike Evans, obviously. Chris Godwin is injured. Emeka Egbuka, obviously. They're going with the veteran, Sterling Shepard, the rookie, Tez Johnson, sophomore, Ryan Miller, and Cam Johnson as well, getting another shot, who I really did enjoy what he put on tape against the Buffalo Bills. So, all good things there. I have no issues with this. Biggest surprise. It honestly isn't that big of a surprise. You just hoped for better. Rakim Jarrett, that's not who I'm talking about. Trey Palmer. He was wide receiver 3 in 2023. It went Mike, Chris, and then Trey Palmer, if you remember. And Trey Palmer looked good, looked promising. As a 6th round pick, it was all good things. Woke up pissed off. Everyone was here for that, mantra that he came in with, and all good energy, all good vibes. But injuries definitely hampered him when it comes to being able to make this team this year. And Tez Johnson just overall being better on special teams definitely hurt Trey Palmer's chances to make the team this year. Obviously, he was the punt returner last year. Tez is going to take over that job this year. So Trey Palmer, after 2 years, is no longer a Buccaneer. But he will land on someone else's 53-man roster, that's for sure, at least once he's healthy. He does have some talent. Maybe needs to polish some things a little bit more. But, this receiver room is just ridiculous. There's just not a ton of space if he's not going to be playing special teams, which Tez Johnson obviously will, and Ryan Miller is also a very good special teams player. Other guys cut: Dennis Houston, Garrett Green. I did like what we saw from him. I'm hoping maybe we can get him on the practice squad, and Jacob Harris. So there we go. Obviously, Jalen McMillan is on the IR, so one of these guys, if I had to guess, most likely Cam Johnson, will then end up being either sent down to the practice squad or whatever the future holds for whoever spot Jalen McMillan takes. And they say it well here. Green looks like a likely fit on the practice squad with Palmer if he clears waivers. Like I said, I do see him ending up on someone's team, someone's 53-man roster. I'd be surprised if he somehow makes it, through waivers and we can bring him back on the practice squad. Panthers, I can see the Panthers doing it for sure. Their receiver room is all right. It's definitely not as deep as ours. But hey, Dave Canales definitely has experience with Trey Palmer. Trey Palmer had his best season with Dave Canales as the offensive coordinator, so we'll see if he ends up in Carolina. I could definitely see that happening. Tight ends, there are absolutely zero surprises here. Cade Otton, Payne Durham, Devin Culp, Kokeeft, and Tanner Taula is cut. So yeah, status quo. There's nothing to really talk about here. Offensive linemen. This is a really good story here. Another live reaction with Ben Chukwuma making the 53-man roster, not even ending up on the practice squad, straight to the 53. That a guy who we talked about as soon as the Bucs signed him as an undrafted free agent. We love the size, what he can become if he continues to hone his craft. And shout out to him. Coming from Georgia State and just coming into the NFL, just trying to work his you-know-what off and make the team. And he does it. He does it. Along with Elijah Klein, late-round pick from last year, Charlie Heck, who will likely be the starter for Tristan Wirfs. And then, of course, you have the rest of the offensive line, Gadecki, Mock, Barton, and Bredesen, of course, making the team. Guys that were cut. In terms of surprises, I don't think anything is too surprising. This one is kind of unfortunate. I know Suo Opeta was a guy that the Bucs front office did like. Of course, was out all of last year with injury, and I just don't think he was able to make it back in time to really earn or honestly deserve a spot over an Elijah Klein or Ben Chukwuma. So that's how the offensive line shakes out. I like how it looks, and huge shout out to Ben Chukwuma. That is a great story right there. Next up is defensive tackles, and only going with 5. Usually you'll typically see 6 defensive ends / tackles. We're in a 3-4 defense, but they only go with 5. Vita, Kalijah, Logan Hall, Greg Gaines, Elijah Roberts. There's no surprises there. I think we all projected all of these guys to make the team, but it was the fact that none of these guys took that 6th spot. Whether it was CJ Brewer, Gotsis, you usually have 6. So this is an interesting spot here. Like we saw, the Bucs decided to go with 4 running backs, 7 receivers. So you gotta, have some drop off in some other areas, and it looks like defensive tackle is one and offensive lineman is one, because typically you'll probably see one more guy along that offensive line. The depth here looks a little shaky. Like if one of these guys were to go down, then you don't have much behind, but I'm sure they will fill that practice squad with some big boys to elevate if it is necessary. So like I said, in terms of the guys that did make the team, there's no surprise that any of these 5 made the team. It's just the fact that they decided to go with 5, which is probably the most surprising. Next up is outside linebackers. Again, I don't think anything is too surprising. Obviously, Reddick, Yaya, Braswell, Anthony Nelson, and then they end up going with Marquise Watts. I assume that is going to be because of special teams. He's a little bit better of a special teamer than Warren Peoples and Jose Ramirez, who was, of course, a Bucs draft pick, and they do end up moving on from him. I mean, after the preseason ad last year, I think we all had some hope to see what he can bring as a depth piece along as an edge rusher, as maybe a situational pass rusher. But nothing ended up unfolding, and this preseason, we didn't see too much from him. Maybe a couple pressures, and that's how it shakes out. Marquise Watts makes the team. I don't know how much we will see him actually playing edge. Like I said, I think this is going to be mainly special teams play, and they do like obviously what they have in Hassan, Yaya, and then Braswell and Anthony Nelson as backup options. So I don't think there's anything too surprising here. It's just a little unfortunate. I think we all hoped a little bit more for Jose Ramirez. It just never panned out. Next up is inside linebackers, and this one was a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, Levante, Servassier, Deion Jones, and then that 4th spot, John Bullock, undrafted rookie out of Nebraska, a walk-on at Nebraska. I mean, Jason Light has to just be in love with that story. Cut Antonio Greer Jr., Nick Jackson, and Anthony Walker. So that's a big move right there. That is a big move. Great story with John Bullock making the team. He deserves it. He had a fantastic preseason. Once again, very good in special teams. That's what the Bucs are going to be going for with these final roster spots. And that's a lot of times where you'll end up taking the job over some of these other guys. John Bullock is the guy that gets the job. Antonio Greer Jr. obviously had a big interception, has been with the team. Nick Jackson made some big plays, and I think everyone was a fan of what he did. Anthony Walker, dealing with injury, the veteran that the Bucs brought in free agency. I think he is someone, as well as Nick Jackson, that we hope can come back on the practice squad and provide some depth at that inside linebacker position, because I would like to see Anthony Walker in this defense. He's a veteran. He's a very solid player, and I think he has a spot on this defense. It's just getting healthy, and I think he's like just now starting to get healthy, and it's just too late in the game to be like, yeah, you're going to be ready to go week 1 in Todd Bowles' defense. That's a lot to ask. So John Bullock makes the team, and there's your 3 cuts. 6 cornerbacks is what they decided to go with. Zion, Jamel Dean, Benjamin Morrison, Jacob Parrish, Kendall Vildor, and Josh Hayes. Those first 4, 0 surprises. Should be 0 surprises to anyone. Kendall Vildor had a hell of a preseason. Heard a ton of him coming out of training camp. Coaches loved what he was doing out there. Josh Hayes, once again, those final roster spots, special team guys. They're just studs on special teams, and that's what Josh Hayes is. None of us want to see him being a starting corner in a wild card game. Again, no offense to him. Nobody wants to see him guarding Terry McLaurin in a crucial moment in the red zone against the Washington Commanders in the wild card round. Nobody wants to see it, but on special teams, fantastic player, and that's why he gets the nod. Bryce Hall, again, injury situation. He was out all of last year, was able to come back this year. Extremely gruesome and difficult injury that he had to come back from, and just did not make the cut. Obviously, there is a place for him on the practice squad, and he is a guy that I would like to see hopefully make it to the practice squad. Just veteran presence, and just allow him to have that time to continue to get back to that full 100% Bryce Hall. Tyreek Funderburk played some crucial minutes last year, once again, due to depth issues. He's another guy that we could see end up back on the practice squad, but the remaining 3 guys do end up getting cut. Shout out to Perotti for his pick 6 in preseason game 1, but the last 2 guys, Farr and Avery, were definitely long shots to make the team at all. I don't think anyone expected it, but man, Kendall Vildor, shout out to him. Sounds and seems like a good free agent pickup by Jason Light and the Bucs front office, with him making that team on a very cheap contract. Right, and last up is safeties. Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyke Smith, Christian Izzian, Kayvon Merriweather, and Rashad Wisdom ends up taking that final spot. Cut, obviously, Shiloh Sanders and Will Brooks. Shiloh Sanders thing was a whole mess in its own. Social media obviously went crazy over that. I mean, it's honestly mostly casuals that were getting like super butthurt and upset over Shiloh being cut. If you watched any bit of preseason, even before he threw the punch, you knew he wasn't making the team. Just based on his play, his performance, it just wasn't enough, unfortunately. And I wanted him to succeed so bad on this team because I think he is a great guy, a great story, and deserves, some bit of success, and I hope he ends up finding it. It just didn't show. It just didn't. So Rashad Wisdom gets the nod. He played well, showed some versatility, and that's why he gets that final roster spot. So Shiloh, Will Brooks, and then of course J.J. Roberts probably would have, made this team with what he was doing in training camp and that first game in the preseason, but of course that injury did happen, and that opens up a spot for Rashad Wisdom. He takes advantage of it, so shout out to him. So that's it in terms of the 53-man roster. Of course, Money McLaughlin, Riley Dixon, and Evan Deckers are your special teamers, kicker, punter, long snapper, and that's it right there. The biggest stories were obviously the Bucs moving on from Kyle Trask, the whole Shiloh Sanders mess, and people saying on social media that he was set up for failure, people were out to get him. They don't want to see Dion, have a success story. Like, come on, bro. Watch some of the game at least. Watch some of it. Don't just go out there spewing absolutely filth. Like, those comments were like, what are people talking about? Desmond Watson, of course, ends up being cut. He didn't end up playing at all. I know Todd Bowles did say something about him. How are the Rays already down 3-0? Never mind. Did say something about them, still having a plan in place for him to continue to, move forward. But, of course, no one expected him to make the team. Trey Palmer being let go. The Bucs moving on from him. Great stories with Bullock, Chukwuma, Josh Williams, all of those guys. Undrafted free agents making the team. And I think all of them were walk-ons at their colleges. I think they were all walk-ons. Chukwuma, Josh Williams, and Bullock were all walk-ons. So that's 3 insane stories going from that to being an undrafted free agent to making an initial 53-man roster in the NFL. So the Bucs do it again with undrafted free agents, getting used to it at this point, but still at the end of the day, great stories, and hope to see these guys succeed. That's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave your comments on the 53 down below. Please remember that practice squad is still a thing. The Bucs can bring back some of these guys, and things will change throughout the season. Some guys might go down to the practice squad. Some guys might come up, depending on injuries, situations, and positions of need, things like that. So yes, this is the initial 53, but things are obviously going to change throughout the year. Once again, leave your comments down below. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go Bucs, and y'all have a blessed one.
Hey, hey, Tampa Bay.